Are you always coming up with ideas? Do you marvel at successful business owners? Do you hate being told what to do? Ever take things apart just to see how they work? Are you a dreamer? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Pro Tapes and Specialties is the world leader in tape manufacturing and specialty conversion with over 40 years of experience. In addition to our pro brand of high-quality specialty adhesive tapes, we provide contract converting services that help improve your profitability, streamline your supply chain, and reduce inventory cost. We offer the most complete range of converting capabilities in the industry, such as cloth tape, double-coated tape, specialty tape, paper tape, masking tape,
vinyl tape, carton sealing tape, adhesive transfer tape, duct tape, foam tape, electrical tape, filament tape, foil tape, reflective tape.
And the tape just keeps on rolling. Visit us online today at www.protapes.com or call us at 800-345-0234. Pro Tapes, it's just how we roll.
Okay.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Entrepreneurial Enclave, Life's Coming Attraction. I am your host, Kevin Wortham. We just keep getting better and better and better. Welcome to the platform, Dr. Monica Reed. Talk to me. How are you today?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to sit down and have a conversation with you.
Awesome. So first of all, I must apologize to you. You had sent me an email because I was amongst a few other folk to receive an award or a certificate by you and your organization. So before we move on, I want to say thank you, but let's give a shout out to all the other honorees and what was the certificate in recognition of, and then we'll start all over.
Yes, absolutely. Well, congratulations to you for being a recipient of the Black Family Impact Award, to all of our community leaders who are well deserving of that award. But congratulations to you again.
Yes. And so who were some of my other honorees, please?
Yes, so some of the other honorees were Nicole Bailey Williams from Ewan Township.
Yes.
Mr. Bruce Boyd from Trenton, New Jersey.
Yes.
Crystal Feliciano. We had a slew of great community leaders. Amongst them was also Reverend Louise Scott Roundtree from Newark, New Jersey.
Yes.
Bishop Reginald Atkins was listed amongst you all. There was a lot of great community leaders who were probably about 30 community leaders that was recognized at our historical launch of the Black Family Magazine there in New Jersey.
Wow. So first of all, Doctor, I am humbled and honored to be recognized, because from the names that you have just said, that's an honor. Those are some esteemed persons, and so I wish them nothing but success as well. So let's start from the beginning. No, let's start at the end. The Black Family Magazine. How did you come up with this idea, and what is its purpose?
Yeah, so how I came up with the idea, I've actually been a writer my entire life.
Yes.
And just been journaling and writing books and all those different things. And then I moved into the publishing industry by accident a few years ago, where I actually was the face of a major publishing company. So publishing, I can literally do in my sleep. Okay. And then I, again, just wanted to tie purpose to, my publishing. Yes. What is it? I've published so many books, and all of my books have been some form of transformation.
Yes.
And so for me, it was really just about being quiet and just saying, how do I reach the masses?
Yes.
How do I, a lot of people ask you your story and people want to know your background. But instead of, always sharing my story, how could I put together a publication that could be transformational?
Yes.
And I'm very passionate about the Black community. So it's just like, the Black family. A lot of my storytelling comes from family related issues,
yes.
relationship issues. So I wanted to make sure that it was something that we address in our community.
And so by you writing books, you said that the next step is to do a magazine because you thought that relationships or the Black family needed to be spoken more about?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. So, just as I started to speak more, so I'm a public speaker. I travel the world and speak.
Yes.
And as I started to speak more about my story, I realized that the more that you speak, we are more alike than we are different. And we have a lot of the same scenarios. So for me, I'm always looking for the root cause, but I'm also looking for solutions.
Yes.
So in the magazine, I wanted to make sure that everything was clear, the messaging. It's for the Black family, right? Our core mission is to break generational cycles, to heal from generational hurt, and to build generational wealth.
Yes.
And so in doing so, I wanted to make sure that we had a publication that would not only share stories by overcomers, but also deliver resources and also offer hope and a opportunity for change. So just to shift the narrative in the Black community. So that's really what the magazine encompassed.
And when did you start the magazine, Doctor?
So we published our very first edition on 2/22/22 in February.
Yes.
And we just been on since then.
Wow. And where can one pick up your magazine? Is it online or at the newsstand? How could one go about receiving your magazine?
Yes, so we officially have up our website, which is blackfamilymagazine.com.
Yes.
And all of our publications are there, all of the editions that are already published. And then we always make sure our website includes what's coming next.
All right. And so you are published once a week or monthly?
So currently we are monthly.
Yes. And
we do have some special editions that will be coming up as well. So again, we're publishing monthly, and then we have a few that are in between.
Awesome. Now let's did I hit everything correctly with you starting the magazine?
Yeah, so that's when we that's when we started the magazine.
Okay. And so let's go back to the beginning. You're born and raised in Ewing Township, correct?
So yes, I'm from New Jersey, born and raised.
Yes.
Yep, and I'm from Ewing Township.
Okay.
My family home is in Skillman and Hopewell. That's where a lot of my raising was. So, however, we reside in Ewing.
Yes.
My entire life. Yes.
Okay. So while you're in Ewing Township, you're just the average student thinking that I'm going to go to college, I'm going to work for someone, or am I thinking something different? When does the entrepreneurial bug hit you? What was your major in college?
I'm glad you asked that.
Yes.
It's very important, this piece of my story, because for me, growing up, I always thought differently. I always thought outside of the box. However, because of the things that are expected of us, or what we see, or what someone is able to nurture, I was taught to take the traditional route. So I went on to do nursing right in Merced County. And then I went on to do, banking and all those other things. However, no job that I had ever, satisfied me.
Yes.
And I found myself really doing things on the weekend or in between lunch breaks that I absolutely love, which was event planning and writing and all those different things. I was doing those things on my off time. However, I did not know that the things that I was passionate about could one day become my career.
Yes.
And so the word entrepreneur or entrepreneurship was very foreign in my household. So it was something that, again, I kind of bumped into when I say I bumped into the entrepreneurial journey, because, again, I had to be taught as an adult that, you can make money doing what you love to do.
Absolutely.
You don't necessarily have to take the route that everyone else is taking.
Yes.
So, of course, as when you're tapping into that journey a lot of people don't understand, right? They don't understand, just like, get a real job, can't you do this instead? Or, just settle for this. You have good benefits, all those things. However, I tried that for a very long time. And it wasn't until about 8 years ago that I just completely walked away from my corporate job. And I was just like, I have to figure this out. Yes. I had to figure out what do they mean by you can make money doing something you absolutely love to do? What does that look like? So, it was really just self-taught. It was really researching and really trying to understand this world that nobody was willing to give me access to, right? And then I had to change my environment to know, wow, you can do this, but it was really about stepping outside of my environment to see things on a bigger level, or the opportunities that were available to me beyond UN Township, UN and Trenton.
Well, so let me see if I understand this. So you're in college, but you're still not thinking anything entrepreneurially, because everyone is just telling you, graduate, get a job, get a pension, do your 25, 30 years, and you're okay.
Yeah. And my major, I guess I was trying to lead into the whole entrepreneurial thing. Yes. It was leading into it, but I still was thinking under corporation. So I wound up going to school for business administration and for hospitality. But again, I saw myself at that time doing only what I'd been taught to do, was to go work for someone else, not realizing that my business administration skills and hospitality skills would also come back to the entrepreneurial side. Again, it was just, you get this degree and you go work for someone, not necessarily apply these skills to something that you love to do.
Now, let me ask this question now. So when you got fed up, what was happening at that time in your life? Were you challenging yourself? Were you being regretful? What was going on at that time before you say, I can do this regardless of what everyone else is saying about me?
Absolutely. So when I walked away from corporate, it was a little bit of both. Yes. I was challenging myself to show myself that I can do this. Yes. You can figure this out. But at the same time, it was really just moving forward, challenging myself, and also trying to discover what was outside of the walls. Because again, being in corporate, it took up a lot of my time. And so I wasn't able to do as much researching. I was tired, 100% into what it was I was doing in the corporate world. So I really had to just step away altogether to navigate this world.
Wow. And so once you step away from corporate, what was your first venture or your venue that you started?
So the first thing that I did was really tap into who am I? Yes, what are some of the things that you like to do? Yes. I know you're putting on these events. A lot of times it was for churches or for just family members. And, I absolutely love throwing events and hosting parties and all those different things. But it was really tapping into, like, what are you really, really passionate about? Yes. So after I left corporate, I really took another step. That wasn't enough for me just to walk away from corporate. I actually relocated at the time. And so I walked away from my job. I sent them what we call the lottery email. It was like, when I hit the lottery, I'm going to quit my job. Well, yes. I quit my job, but didn't hit the lottery at the time. But I felt like I did because I had a newfound freedom. Yes. So I spent about a year really trying to know me. Yes. Tap back into the things that I was really passionate about. And that would always go back to writing as a child. I won a public speaking engagement in middle school right there in Fisher Middle School in Ewan as a child. And it was like, no, you love to do those things. So why not do those things? Yes. Right. And then how is it, now that you have this entrepreneurial term, what does that look like, right? Yes. How can you apply your writing skills, your speaking skills, and how can you make money from it? So it was a lot of self-discovery. It really took me about a year. Okay. And I just happened to, the more research, how our good friend Google is. It's like once you research one thing, things just start popping up. And I just found myself obsessed with wanting to know, how do I make this lifestyle happen for me?
So you said that you come out of corporate, and then you actually moved. Where did you move to?
So I literally moved to Georgia for the first time. I kind of flipped the coin on the map and was like, wherever it lands, that's where you go. you have enough money to survive for at least a year. So it landed on Georgia. I wind up flying out to Georgia the very following weekend and seeing some houses, going around to different towns. And I moved to a town called Lawrenceville, Georgia, because Lawrenceville, New Jersey just seemed like home. It was very silly, but it was just like, I'm going to pick Lawrenceville. Why? Yes. Because it feels like home. We have a Lawrenceville, New Jersey. We have a Lawrenceville, Georgia. Hey, this is where we need to be. So I stayed in Lawrenceville, Georgia for about a year.
Yes.
And that's where I did all of my self-discovery. I came back to New Jersey because at that time it's new for me. It was the first time I ever moved out of the state, and it was just like, can you continue to do this? Things were getting a little hard. And so I came back to New Jersey. But one thing I promised myself was, now that you have all this great information, it doesn't matter what environment you get back into, you just continue to follow the path.
Yes.
So I came, yeah.
That's crazy, but that's wonderful. And my God, and one of the things that I love about what you just said is that in my mind, it's about the acrobats.
Mm-hmm.
They've got these wires. They're on the trapeze, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you put the trapeze under you or the net under you, you're still feeling like you've got a sense of safety. But do that same routine without a net. And you have to make sure that every movement is carefully crafted. So I love that. I love that. Now, what were your friends, what were your family members saying when you said, I just flipped a coin and I'm going to visit Lawrenceville, Georgia next weekend? What did they say?
They were just like, what happened? Like, what was going on? Nobody would ever understand. Like, sometimes it's really interesting because even though that was years ago, people are really starting, because they see the growth and they see the evolving. It's like, that's why you went there the first time.
Yes.
Wow, this is now starting to make sense.
Yes.
But in the beginning, people will not understand why you're doing. So family and friends didn't understand until now.
Okay.
And I have to be really truthfully honest, even for yourself, you really don't understand why you have to take these steps until later, but they're necessary, and every step is necessary.
Well, I remember when I first started my entrepreneurial venture, I would come home and I would kind of share with my parents that I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Well, I knew I was in trouble when they couldn't even pronounce the word. So
exactly.
I knew I wasn't going to get any support because they said, well, how do you make money doing that? And I tried to explain as well as you were trying to explain. You've identified what you think you're good at. You've identified your passion, and you're going to make money in this lane. They didn't understand that, but
no.
They gave me the best support that they could. They said, if you know what you're doing, then we're going to trust you, and we're going to be here to support you. But the very first time I tried to tell them I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and they couldn't pronounce the word, I said, okay, we're in trouble here.
Yes.
and I'm not going to tell you all the variations that I got.
I can only imagine. Trust me. I probably said some similar. So no one really understands the journey at all. Some still don't. So it's okay.
So you come back home for a hot minute, and when do you decide that you've got to go back out?
It was recently, about 2 years ago. Okay. So about probably like a year and a half, 2 years ago now.
Okay.
That I have gone back out.
Yes.
Part of the reason is because I returned back home, and it was really confirmation of why I left for the first time. Sometimes we got to go back to our familiar grounds to say, there's really nothing here, or not so much of nothing there. It's just that what you need access to is not in your backyard per se.
Yes.
There was nowhere for me to nurture my new discoveries. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And
so let me stop you for a second, Doc. So even in your immediate close circle of friends, there was no one that could motivate you or guide you or support you?
No.
Wow. Okay.
No. And that was very important to me, especially after being exposed to so much. So while I was in Georgia the first time, I actually, as you get to hear throughout this conversation, I'm just a go-getter. So while I was in Georgia, I took my first trip to California, and I went to my very first conference, major conference, and it was like walking into 500 new family members who understood how I thought.
Yes.
And it was an entrepreneurship conference.
Yes.
With a major motivational speaker by the name of Lisa Nichols. And when I left there, I couldn't even explain to anybody what I had experienced.
Yes.
And I remember being very emotional because I'm like, finally, I'm somewhere where people understand me.
Yes.
And so going back into your normal environment really does something to your mind, because it's like, I don't speak the same language. I don't, my routines are different because I'm on a journey now towards something different that most people don't understand. So it was really hard for me to even communicate what I had experienced at that time.
Because trying to communicate was frustrating. I got that. Yep.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha. All right.
Yep.
So you come back from the conference in California, and when do you begin to sink your teeth in that you can do this on your own? You can create the magazine?
Immediately. So that's actually when I started, not so much of the magazine. It really was me writing my first book.
Yeah. And what was
it was like, okay, so my very first book was Renew Your Marriage. At that time, I had discovered that a lot of people wanted to know more about my relationships, my backstory behind, why it was that the journey that I took, why did I get married so young, all those different things. And a lot of the challenges that I had overcome, a lot of people wanted to know that story.
Yes.
And so at that time, I realized that that was my gift. I used to even incorporate, people would come and talk to me all the time, come get advice and all those different things. The mailman, my clients, just everything. I always found myself giving advice. So immediately I wrote the book. The book then turned into conferences and retreats and all these different events. But again, if you heard me earlier, that's event planning, right?
Doc, let me slow you down. If I understand you correctly, your very first book was a relationship on why you got married so early?
Yes, it was Renew Your Marriage. It was really on not so much of why I got married, but it actually talked about how I overcame a lot of the challenges that I had experienced in my marriage.
And so again, was this you wanting to be transparent within yourself, or were there outside forces telling you this is a good time for you to share more of your relationship and your marriage with others who may want to know? Where was that coming from?
So it was a little bit of both.
Yes.
A lot of time, just really tapping into my journey. I always feel that what we go through was not for just any reason.
Yes.
So I was in a place in my life of, what was all of that about? What was all that for? And I remember being told by one of my mentors, the story is not for you, it's for someone else.
Now, let me stop you again, because I just want to ask a personal question. When you say you were young when you got married, how old were you when you got married?
So I was actually out of high school, out of high school.
Yes.
But I had met him very young.
Okay. So
20-something years now, being in a relationship and being 40, you know what I mean? It's just like how, that's a lot of years and you're so young.
Yes.
You guys must have started young. And a lot of the challenges that we had gone through, most people had gone through as well, but a lot of people weren't talking about it.
Now,
and so I found myself in that space talking about it.
Now, do you feel and find yourself being able to be transparent with me?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to ask, I guess, the craziest of questions. Listen, what did love look like for you at that age that you wanted to get married, like soon after high school? Yeah.
So a lot of, if I could be very, very transparent, because the world knows now, a lot at that time, I was really looking for something that I didn't have in my family.
Understood.
Right. I was looking to build a family. My goal was to be the best mom ever.
Yes.
My goal was to be the wife, the best wife ever. Those were goals of mine. Yes. And, it was kind of crazy. It was just like, okay, but for me now, knowing who I am, it was in search of things that I didn't get in my immediate family.
Yes. But why so young did you want to be a mother? Why so young did you want to be a wife?
To fill voids, right? So that's really what it comes down to. And really for a lot of young mothers and young teenagers. It's really to fill the voids. And I don't think a lot of, when I go back and I speak to that community and I speak to that age group, they definitely agree. There's some things that, you try to get on your own,
yes,
because you don't feel that way at home,
yes,
And so, even having to be honest with myself there, and be very transparent, was like, wow, you were filling voids the entire time.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so his response to you was, baby, let's get married because I love you, or I feel the same way. I'm trying to fill a void. What?
Yeah, it's a very crazy scenario,
Okay.
but at the, so when you, let's just put it this way, when you enter into crazy scenarios, you can expect crazy things to happen,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Because at the same time, you being so young, you don't know how to be this
Yes.
role. You don't know how to be in this role.
Yes.
So things happen, right? Things happen in your relationship that, probably wouldn't happen if you were more mature, or
Yes.
if, you understood yourself a little bit more. You took time to see yourself a little bit more. So
Yes.
at this point, as I'm in my entrepreneurial journey, it was years later,
Yes.
After being married. So I had so many stories to tell of overcoming certain situations. So a lot of people wanted to know that story.
Yes. Okay. So you begin to share that story through your book and through a series of workshops.
Through workshops and books and events. Yeah, just bringing people together so they can start to understand themselves.
And how well are these books and workshops being received?
Very well.
Okay.
So I started doing them full time. I guess that's where I said I tripped into the whole entrepreneurial thing, because as I mentioned before, events were a passion of mine. So to put on an event, to put on a tour, it's nothing for me. It's something that I absolutely love to do.
Gotcha.
Right. But I really now was tying purpose, which is another term that was very important in my entrepreneurial journey, tying it to something that I was passionate about, and that what I felt was my purpose in life. And as I mentioned before, we go through things, but we don't realize that they're not for just any reason.
Now, I got to keep going back, because I feel like, well, first of all, I applaud your effort. If I had 1,000 hands, every single pair would be clapping, because I was totally the opposite, right? And I'm going to be real. I mean, if I ever thought about getting married, right, for my age being similar to yours, it certainly was not because this was something missing at the home. This was, I can be an adult and we can make love anytime we wanted to. So that would be the extent as to why I would want to get married at a young age.
Yeah.
But beyond,
it was very interesting.
So beyond that, I applaud your efforts for just saying there was legitimately something else that I needed to discover about myself, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
So thank you. So matter of fact, there's 1,500 pairs of hands clapping now. I just added more.
Yeah. It definitely is.
We're being transparent, so I can be transparent too. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, because I got married later on, and I thought I was mature, and that still didn't work out. But I wasn't going to do no workshop.
That is so funny. But yeah, there was a lot of self-discovery that took place on this journey, and that's why I continued to write.
Yes.
I continue to dig deeper. Every single time that I would publish a book, or every time I, had a new self-discovery, I would talk about it.
Yes.
And every time I did, it helped more and more people.
Good. Now, how many books have you published thus far, Doc?
I'm a total of 18.
What?
And some of them have been collaborations with other people. And then I started to lead my own collaborations, because I realized that a lot of people wanted to share their stories. So a total of 18 now. Okay.
Now, I've got to stop this, and I've got to interject this. In the beginning, I introduced you as Dr. Monica Reed.
Yes.
When do we take on that moniker of Dr. Monica Reed? And that obviously was after you got married. And after okay. So
it was. It actually was recently.
Okay, so that was also another level of challenges, as I can imagine. So
Yes.
take us through that too as well.
So as far as my doctorate is actually an honorary doctorate.
Yes.
And I just recently received that in March of this year.
Awesome.
And I was really excited about it. It really was just recognition for all the work that we're talking about now, since this entire journey, right?
Okay.
Of really speaking up about my story, speaking up for others, going back to teach a lot of the lessons in my life that had taken place.
Yes.
And then reaching back to help others. And that's really why I was honored.
Yes.
And then my entrepreneurial piece, because everything that I felt I did not receive, I made sure I created platforms. So that's where my entrepreneurial piece came in. So the entrepreneurship term, as I mentioned to you earlier, was very foreign to me. And I just thought to myself, how many other people don't have, the resource. So I wind up opening up entrepreneurial centers. My nonprofit organization was started because of, the root cause of why I felt the need to get married and the issues between me and my family. A lot of those things. Again, I started businesses to be a solution for everything that I felt was missing, and come to find out the world needed it.
Yes.
So that's where the honorary doctorate came into play.
And where did that come from, if I may ask?
So that actually came from the Trinity International University of Ambassadors here in Georgia. So that recognition came here shortly after I got here, because everyone had already heard what I had accomplished, in New Jersey as well as Georgia.
Awesome. So now, if I come to Georgia, Lawrenceville, everybody knows your name now, correct?
People know my name. They know my name here in Georgia. Yes, they do.
Almost like Cheers, everybody knows your name.
Everybody knows my name.
So you're moving along this entrepreneurial journey.
Mm-hmm.
But when do you begin to say that I feel that there's a need for me to say something about speaking to the Black family, the black experience, the Black family experience? Mm-hmm. Where does that come from? When do we begin to talk about that or think about that?
So again, I'm always on a self-awareness journey. I started to look at my work as a whole.
Yes.
From the time that I told you that I left corporate, to the self-discovery piece, to the work that I had to do personally to reset my, reset my mindset, create the personal development work. And I started to really assess, where did these thought processes come from? What happened to you?
Yes.
And as I started to think about it, it all came down to the root of my childhood experiences. Okay. So as I started to do more work, I became a strong advocate for ACEs. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but for adverse childhood experiences. No. And what I realized was that in the Black community, we score very high when it comes to ACEs.
Yes.
And a lot of the experiences that we have and the traumas that we have is the reason why we have the mindsets that we have as well in our culture.
Yes.
And so the magazine came about because I really wanted to tap into all of that, right? Like, I need to do something bigger because as I started to speak, as I started to teach and reach more people, I realized it wasn't just me, right? These people were drawn to me because this is a cultural thing. Not to say that other cultures don't go through it, but I can relate to the Black community, right? Yes. And we have a certain language, we have certain traditions and conditions inside of our community in which I can relate to. So I felt that it was fitting for me to speak directly to the Black community, to help the Black community, just because I can relate, right? And unfortunately, but fortunately, I've been through a lot of things. So I felt like this publication could give the transformation that we needed to see inside of our families.
Now, Doc, let me ask this question. So within the Black family, why do we choose to hold in so much trauma?
Why do we choose? I believe it's just back to, it's something that is taught to us.
Okay.
We hear those things, what happened in this home stays in this home. What happens in this house stays in this house.
Yes.
And so we keep a lot of secrets
Yes.
inside, because again, we hear that catchphrase, right? Every Black person could tell you that phrase. And so we internalize it.
Yes.
And we begin to hold things in.
Yes.
Anything we hear, anything we experience, all goes brushed underneath of the rug.
Yes.
Right? And we don't talk about it. And it's nobody's fault. It's really just something that was passed down from generations, right? We used to hear the more seasoned or our ancestors say it to our parents, and our parents will repeat it to us. So again, it's things that's just taught. It's passed down.
Yes.
But now it's passed down to the point where we internalize those things, and it's unhealthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
But we live in a generation now where we need, or a time now that it's time to heal those things.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to tap back in and bring those things back up so that we can begin to heal, because it's the same thing that we're internalizing that's stopping us from being living at our highest potential as a culture.
And what does healing look like for an African American individual and a African American family? What does healing look like once we've identified that the family is experiencing trauma? What does healing look like? How do we go about making sure that the healing is complete and is intact?
Absolutely. So the beginning of the healing is really being honest with yourself,
Yes.
that you are part of a cycle. We
Yes.
have to begin to break cycles, right?
Yes.
So it's being honest with yourself. It's being willing to break the cycle.
Yes.
It's being aware, right? So when I'm out and I'm talking about this whole healing process, the first thing is to be honest.
Yes.
About eliminating all learned and learned emotional dysfunctions.
Yes.
We have to identify these things, right, that are inside of our family. Though when we take that process and being honest, we are now aware. We're at a certain level of awareness.
Yes.
And then it's going in to tap into resources, like being honest. Who am I? Why am I this way? Asking yourself those questions. And then going on to tap into the resources that will help us, right? What do I need? Is it therapy? Is it a spiritual walk? Is it counseling? Like all those different things, I now have access to these things, but I have to be willing to break the cycle. And then it's about environment, right? Moving on into environments. I take everybody really down the same path that I just explained to you that I did for myself. But it's about changing your environment. Family's always going to be family, but we also come to a point of choice where the point of choice of change. So we have a choice to change that. We don't have to be the family that we were born into, and we almost can't afford to do that, especially if you're a parent.
Yes.
You're passing these things down to the next generation. So it's imperative that we heal, because otherwise we just transfer trauma.
Now, what do you think, and I know we have many, but what seems to be the number one trauma that most of us are facing? If you can kind of put that.
If I could sum it up, it would be mental.
Okay.
It would be mental health. Mental health. We're dealing with our mental health because of the things that we've experienced and we've seen and we've heard.
So mental health would be the number one trauma.
To me, I think that in the mental health space, that would be what are our number one things that we need to work on. As far as the actual trauma, the things that I've seen come down or have heard, and I can be wrong, but a lot of the things that I've seen have come from, sexual abuse or some type of, depending on the era that we grew up in, drug abuse. Now, but those are all things that are.
Let me go back to mental trauma, right? If we're living in an urban area, might the mental trauma be triggered by, say, the environment? Could it be?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
then in terms of the sexual trauma, that could be triggered by other family members keeping molestation and pedophilia secret amongst the family.
Amongst the family.
Without reporting it. So it's almost like we all know that Johnny did it, but we still allow Johnny to come to the cookout as opposed to turning Johnny in.
Absolutely.
Okay,
and then we have drug and alcohol. There's a lot of things, but I also believe that in my own research and understanding, a lot of those things our family members turn to as a result of the things that they've experienced.
Yeah. So
right?
they turn to the drugs and alcohol as a way to eliminating
Exactly.
the other traumas, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking that they can control this one, that I can control the alcohol, I can control the drug,
Absolutely.
and then they realize that
Absolutely.
I'm not built for this. I can't control this.
Absolutely. So
Gotcha.
I always surface around the mental health piece, because no matter what it is or what journey that you've gone through as a child, when it starts to affect you mentally is when we start to make those choices,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we always have to make sure that we are transforming the mindset,
Yes.
because that's where it begins.
Yeah. Now you said something, and I want to go back to that, because I want to ask you, what does that look like, right? When you know that you are experiencing trauma because it's coming from a mental health place, right? What does that look like to the individual? What does that look like?
As far as getting help or beginning to rewrite some of the things we've been taught?
Well, not so much getting help. I mean, if I'm an outsider, how do I know that you're having a mental health episode?
So really just if you're an outsider, first of all, it takes, some training, right? It does take professional training for someone to know that. And that's why a lot of times those things get overlooked, right? Especially in our families.
Yes.
Because we're like, they're just family. They're just, going through something. A lot of times it gets overlooked because we are not prepared to see the signs.
Yes.
Right. But there's really no way on the outside, unless someone is really far gone or dealing with things mentally, and the signs are obvious. But a lot of times you don't know. And I think that's another reason why one of the very important for us to say, and that's why we have to make sure that we're very careful about the way that we show up, the way that we love, the grace that we give inside of our families, because we don't know what someone's going through.
Yes.
Right. We don't know. Mental health is very silent, right? The mental crisis is very silent. So you don't know. But it's amazing to see that the more that people talk about it, the more that a lot more people are dealing with the same thing.
Yes. Now I've got one. And follow me on this one. A generational trauma could be where sometimes in the black family, it's that the father was the breadwinner. And he gets to the point where he can no longer provide for his family. I can imagine the kind of trauma that might cause, and how he might go to the bottle, go to drugs, maybe become abusive to his family, because what was passed down to him, that the man was always the breadwinner.
There's definitely a lot of pressure on Black men. I definitely have to agree with that. I definitely believe that.
It's so funny. It's not funny, but it is funny, right? So I'm watching TV One last night, right?
Oh boy!
And this is an episode of Good Times, right? And Good Times was written back in the 70s, and that family had some trauma. So this particular episode, James Evans gets this job where he can take this apprentice, right, through the union, right? And so he can go from making $2.50 an hour to $4.50 an hour. And the whole family was talking about how they're going to take trips now because daddy's making $4.50 an hour. And I'm like, holy crap. So I said, James Evans was always having some trauma.
Right. And that's so funny, especially when we start speaking the dollars and the cents in their generation. It was just like, what? You're going to take trips off of $4 now? So
we're going to get a limo now. Now we can have steak for dinner, like at $4.50. What?
Yes.
Oh man. Okay. I'm sorry, Doc.
Yeah.
Continue.
No, that's okay. But no, you're right. There's definitely a lot of pressure on Black men. I tell you that.
Yeah. And then a lot of it is, I think, now I'm gonna mess this up too. I think the school system inadvertently puts trauma or puts pressure on us, because
absolutely,
we know that everyone is not college material. But at the same time, we don't have this rigorous course of study where we're doing HVAC, we're doing I don't know, other programs and other services and other job training programs that our young Black men can be a part of.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
You may have a PhD, but I'm not going to call you if my toilet is stopped up.
I'm
going to call the plumber. I would like to do business with a Black plumber, but if he has not been trained or he or she cannot have access to the training, then I can't have a Black trainer. A plumber come to take care of me. So I think in the urban schools we really need to start working heavily or reimagining what does vocational design look like.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you.
Because I think that's like early trauma. When as a young Black man, you know that college is not for you, but you also know that I can't even make it through high school because there's nothing in high school I really like. I can't be a chef. I can't be a carpenter because those vocations don't even exist in my school.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. I'm sorry. This is good stuff. I'm sorry, Doc.
Yeah. No,
going.
It's very, very good. And those are some of the issues that we're really focusing on bringing to the publication. So this is not our normal. I know a lot of times people are comparing us to Ebony and Jet, but this is really different. The Black Family Magazine, but it's really bringing up those topics, right?
And
challenging our mindset.
And I got another one for you, Doc. Follow me with this one, right? This is out there, right? But think about this, right? If you've got issues within your environment, right? Most oftentimes, it's not a person of color, even though we are the ones that go through it the most. People, Black and brown, and we go through these urban neighborhoods, right? What would it look like if a high school did a vocational program where they taught people how to become a community organizer? Or they taught you about, being lead-free, how to tackle some of these environmental issues. Because most of the time that we are aware that we have an issue in my neighborhood is because the white man has come to me and says, oh, you've got problems with your water. But what would it look like if the schools were to expand their vocational offering so that now we've got Johnny, we've got Sally who grew up in the community and they now can become community organizers where they can go back into their own community and tell their brothers and sisters and other family members and the rest of the community how to mitigate and how to advocate for yourselves, as opposed to a white man or a white organization or agency coming down and telling you how to do that.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. You got me going, but this is good stuff. This is good stuff now, sister.
You're going to have to put in some suggestions. You're going to put in some article suggestions, seriously, because these are some of the conversations and the topics that are definitely going to be talked about in the Black Family Magazine.
Am I talking
We're
to
really
the editor?
excited about. Listen, go on. Just come on and bring them on.
That's what I'm
you know where to email. You know where to email us. Absolutely.
I'm going to text you. I'm going to text the concerns to you.
Yes, bring me the concerns. Absolutely.
Yes.
Listen, we're trying to let this magazine and this publication be around for a very long time. We have so many issues within our community that we need to address. So just bring them on. Trust me. And these things that definitely need to be brought to the table.
Yeah, so I got off on a tangent. Let me get off my soapbox. But Doc, you finished telling me, right? So, because while we were prepping, you were about to tell me some exciting news. Can we share with that exciting news now about your international office and your national office? Can we talk about that now?
Yes. So,
come on, give me the drum roll now. Yes.
Yes. So the Black Family Magazine is actually going on tour over the next couple of months, over the next 8 to 9 months. Yes. And we are actually going to do Black in Dubai, Black in Paris, and a few international locations.
Yes.
So, we definitely will be there as well.
Yes. And where is your international headquarters perhaps going to be?
In Dubai.
Wow, I'm going.
In Dubai. He's like, I'm going.
I'm going to do my podcast over at the international and
That's
Dubai, the
right.
international offices. I'm going. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's where that we're definitely working toward.
Yes.
To make sure that that partnership does happen.
Yes. Now here's the thing that I want to ask. Going back to the trauma, can I go back to the trauma?
Sure,
Yeah.
no problem.
In the Black family, do we traditionally have the Black family? You know, where
that
there
is
was,
a loaded question.
No, I mean, when I was coming along, right, there was a mother, a father. There might be some siblings or only child. There might be a grandparent, right? But how diverse could the Black family be now? And do you and do you talk about that in your magazine? Because now it could be two men living together, raising a child, but that's still the Black family. How do we address that?
Yes. So I really believe it's not so much of addressing, but it's also bringing awareness that our Black community looks totally different now, right? It's no longer traditional husband and wife and, you know, the 4 children with the white picket fence type thing. That's not where we are, right? So we have to make sure that we are exempling all different family dynamics when it comes to the Black family, because that's just within the reality. And what I love about that is because I remember growing up and they may have been a friend of mine who was raised by her grandmother or just, you know, a single mom, and they were embarrassed or shamed by that, right? Because it wasn't traditionally what society was expecting their family to look like. So we want to make sure in our publication that we show the diversity, that we show all those different scenarios so that people can start to be self-accepting. So it's very important. So it's really not about us addressing, it's about bringing awareness that, hey, this is what your Black family may look like now, you know? And we actually are also focused on talking about being a biracial family, because for a lot of our, you know, maybe it wasn't the norm, you know, a couple decades ago, but we have to make sure that we introduce that in the Black Family magazine, because a lot of our families now are mixed culture. So we want to make sure that we also example that as well.
I love it. Now, can we talk numbers?
Numbers.
Okay. Since the inaugural publication, right? What's the cost of a subscription? Right? And what's your circulation?
Yes. So current, when we first published on 2/22/22, that was a soft launch. When we launched, the day we launched, within 48 hours, had already landed 5 media partners. That took us to 1.3 million in reach.
Wow.
And it was really eye-opening to the need of this publication. As far as our editions, and I have to be really honest and transparent with you, we literally are probably on maybe this edition number 6 at the time. And each publication right now is being individually sold at $25 on our website. Those numbers will definitely change, but because we are considered a startup per se, things will definitely change over time. Currently, we do not offer a subscription. We're not at our 12th edition just yet. But we do have plans to have out about 15 to 16 different editions by the end of the year. So we are looking to probably move into our subscription process in January or February. Probably, and I would have to be safe and probably say February, which is our anniversary of our 1-year anniversary. So that's probably when we'll roll that out.
Awesome. Hey, listen, I got another one for you, because I'm just thinking about a few of my buddies, right? And I'm going to text you. I'm going to text you this article too. Reentry.
It's coming. It's
So
coming.
think about this, right? Within the Black community, we could be
Mhm.
rolling for years, and all of a sudden, daddy or mommy has to go to prison. They serve
Mhm.
time. What
Mhm.
what does what does the Black family look like now?
Mhm.
And then how does the community welcome them? And then how does the family itself come back? So
Come back.
that would be a wonderful article. I
Mhm.
would love to see how you handle that and how you roll that out, because
Absolutely.
that's a major concern within the Black community,
Mhm.
within the Black familial.
And I actually happen to have that story within my own personal life as well.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, this publication is
Yeah.
I'm like rolling out, so again, back to what I told you before, I
Yes.
had so many stories that I just couldn't write enough books, right, to
Yes.
talk about it.
Yes.
But I definitely could bring the awareness on all of those stories, if not more, because I haven't lived everything, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, but just know that we have a lot of amazing things that are coming up. We're educating through this publication when it comes to politics, when it comes
Yes.
to food, when it comes to the disabled community, some of our special needs community. Really, we have so many things that are coming up.
Yes.
I'm really excited about. So I just ask everybody to stay tuned and
Yes.
follow us at, the Black Family Magazine.
And what I love about the name is that we're bringing us back together. It's the Black family, right?
Yes.
And you were just reeling off some of the topics, because these are things that we need to talk about. We need to
Hmm.
have a better understanding of, and we need to
Hmm.
have more awareness for that. So I am so
Absolutely.
excited for what you're going to do. And at one point, everybody would rush home to get Ebony, Black Enterprise, or Jet. And
Hmm.
I think that those magazines, do they exist now? No, do they?
They do exist in some form or fashion. I do believe that there is a young man who just bought, I believe it was Ebony or Jet, two
Okay.
years ago, and they plan on relaunching it to be
Okay.
more generational wealth focused.
Yes.
But we are truly different,
Yeah. No.
and
Yeah.
so really
You're all
excited.
about the family. Yes.
Hmm.
Wow. Now, personal question. Suppose you got big, right? Would you ever
Hmm.
sell out?
Would I ever sell? So that's a really interesting. We have to see, right? I personally felt that this is what I would do for the rest of my life.
Yes.
However, I
Well,
had an encounter, and I'm just going to say this on the record, but I had an encounter and got the opportunity to be in the room with Magic Johnson.
wow.
And his advice was to build fast and sell,
Okay.
because we have so much work to do.
Yes.
The magazine, I definitely see it living on. But if I'm
Yes.
going to talk about building a legacy, at some point I have to pass it down or pass it over or, teach the next generation, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I haven't come to that. We're so new that
Mm-hmm.
people are already asking me,
Mm-hmm.
what are you going to do 5, 10 years from,
Yeah.
5 years from now, are you going to sell it? And my thing right now is my heart is to make sure that the transformation in the Black community is felt through this publication.
Yep.
And then we would cross the path of selling, 3, 4, 5 years from now.
Yeah. Or the magazine morphs into something else.
Absolutely. And so we have other things that are attached to it. That's why I
Yeah.
said it's just really interesting.
Yeah.
We're going into film and production. We're going into, we have our own publishing company. So
Yep.
there's so many different things that we're doing through and with the Black Family Magazine.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that some of the like a larger publication could pick you up, that would give you wider distribution and still
Hmm.
allow you in your contract of sales, still allow you to stay on as its executive, not executive, but as its editor in chief.
Yes.
But now because of this larger company that brought you, you would have a larger footprint to explore and to really get the word out.
Yes,
I don't know.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So we never know. We never know.
we never know.
I looked at, you never know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say for right now. But we definitely are considering all variations of our growth, right? We just don't know where that will be. I don't know how soon or how late or if ever,
Yeah. But
but we are.
But Doc, you promised me that whatever you do when it comes to selling, we're going to announce it first on the Entrepreneur Enclave.
We'll definitely have to stay connected so that you all will be the first to know. You absolutely have to do it.
Now, listen. Now, we've talked so much about everything. Did we cover everything that you wanted us to know? Because I want to make sure that we've got the platform in front of you to share everything you want us to know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think if anything, I just really want to touch back on the overall mission for the magazine.
Yes.
So our publication really is to give voice to the voiceless, maybe those who are underheard.
Yes.
It's really to bring awareness to some of the things that we go through inside of the Black family that was once taboo at one time.
Yes.
It's really about really promoting the positive transformation that one has experienced in their life in order to break cycles, heal from hurt, and to begin to build generational wealth.
Yeah.
And we do that through three principles. That's through love, it's through unity, and our focus is building legacies. So I want everyone to know that this publication is really an invitation to be healed.
Yes.
That's it.
Doc, how do we stay connected? Give us your website, email address. Yes.
So to know more about my journey, you can go directly to www.monicadreed.com. And to follow more of the publication, you would go to blackfamilymagazine.com. We are on all social media platforms under the Black Family Magazine through Facebook as well as Instagram. And our email address is theblackfamilymagazine@gmail.com.
Yes. Now, Doc, you know, I created the platform so that entrepreneurs can tell their unabridged story. Are you sure you as they say in church, hearts and minds are clear? You've said everything that you wanted to say. We know everything we need to know about you.
Yes. So all I would say is there's more to come. I'm doing a documentary. I encourage everyone to share their story.
Yes.
To really, really share their story. It's very important. As my mentor, Lisa Nichols, would say, the story is not for you.
Yes.
It's for someone else.
Yes.
And so it's very important for us to share our story. I'm so excited that you have this platform for people to share their story. And even though we're speaking entrepreneurship, as you can see, there's a bigger picture, a bigger story behind everyone's business.
Yes.
How they got started, why they got started.
Yes.
So we make sure we capture that inside of our publication as well.
And here's the challenge for me, right? I am working so hard to get more entrepreneurial content, and I'm asking people that they would share this with more folk, because I mean, I sit back sometime in amazement and saying, man, if you knew them as an entrepreneur, that's one thing, but when they begin to tell their challenging story as to how they had to overcome, that's more amazing, right?
It is.
And so you help me, I will help you, we'll help each other, and we'll grow our businesses together. So that, you know, because I got to get to Dubai so I can interview people at
yes, definitely, because we're going to introduce you. Absolutely.
I can't be introduced if I'm not there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be connecting with a lot of the businesses over in Dubai. So Black businesses in Dubai. So you'll definitely get connected.
Now, I got to ask one other question, right? Did you enjoy going to UNH High? Because, you know, I went to Notre Dame High School. We talked about that before.
You got the whole UNH Trenton Notre Dame thing.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
I did. It was, I mean, it was all I knew at the time, right?
Yes.
It was all I knew. I was very comfortable. I felt safe. I have some amazing friends, some wonderful teachers.
Absolutely.
And my children, I came back to raise, I mean, not came back, but I really never really left.
Yes.
But I raised my children in UNH as well.
Awesome.
So, listen, it is what it is.
Yes. Dr. Monica Reed, thank you so much. You have been awesome. You have been wonderful. Nothing but success and continued blessings.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Let's talk and text later on.
That concludes another episode of the Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. We hope you found this episode informative and enlightening. If you have any questions or comments about any of our episodes, please call 609-731-9311 or email kevin@minding-our-business.com. We look forward to joining us for our next one. Until next time.